I'm sorry, dude.
No,
I'm sorry. Okay.
that's
Hey
good.
guys.
That'll be an insider thing. All right. Welcome back to Theater Thursday, everybody. Today we bring you the movie Overlord from 2018. This is I'll classify it as a war horror movie. It's a mix of World War II and zombies, but it's not quite what you think, and we'll get into that. First, this was directed by Julius Avery, and I'm going to there's a great cast, but the three people you see the most in the movie is Jovan Adipo. I can't say half these names, so I apologize. It's Adepo, so I say Adipo, who plays Boyce in the movie. You have uh, Mathilde Olivier, who plays Chloe, and there's really only one female, so she's hard not to know. And uh, Wyatt Russell, who plays Ford in the movie. And those are the three people you stick with most. Now, I'll say off the bat, I hadn't seen this movie till we watched to review it. And I've seen a million zombie movies. One of my hobbies is wartime history, especially World War II. I have some serious interest in it because of family matters. We could do that another time, but I'll say off the bat, and you had mentioned like, oh man, there wasn't as many zombies as I thought, and I'll tell you that you're right, but I actually like that fact because if you look at something like World War Z, where there's 2 million zombies running like ants at top speed, that gets a little dry, or you get infiltrated. This one, you could have cut it in half, and if you watch the first half, you're like, this is one phenomenal war movie. They put a lot of money into it, a lot of great effects. One example, in the beginning, it opens with the beginning of D-Day, June 6, 1944, invasion of Normandy. These are the paratroopers. I read that for the movie, they created a full-size plane and tilted the stuntmen to fall out of the plane back, like the tilted backwards, to give that real feel. Because that beginning sequence, like you wouldn't know it has anything to do with horror or zombies. So that was amazing. They did a good job of setting it up. Yeah, it took a little long to get to anything interesting, but I want to say the best part about this movie isn't the whole world's in trouble. It's about this one little town they're in. It's about the mission they're doing, which is they're trying to take out a radio tower. And you find out that they're trying to create technically a super soldier, but they're creating zombies. But this is now, if you look it up, they did do weird experiments in World War II. Joseph Stalin tried to create like Planet of the Apes people, like take a monkey or an ape and a human and put them together. You can look that up. That is a real thing. Of course, it didn't work. They basically impregnated a woman with an ape, and it didn't work. So this isn't that far off. But in the negatives, I give for this movie, there's some stuff, obviously, but overall, I was riveted. This was awesome because it wasn't your usual zombie movie, and it had nothing to do with the rest of the war. Like, you can imagine while you're watching this, the rest of World War II is happening, but this one situation, which could have gotten out of hand, but our heroes, who don't all make it, and spoilers, obviously, but only really like 3 people make it, like, they stop what's going on. And so I really like this. It's so different, and yeah, they didn't have a million zombies, but that's good. Like, now they had the scene where the bad guy pulls open the drawers and 5 or 6 Nazi zombies come out, and they don't get to really fight with them. That's a downer, and I wanted to see a zombie on zombie fight, and he almost had it when the bad guy puts the good guy on a hook,
Hmm.
and that guy shoots himself up with the stuff to save himself, but he doesn't. But I was like, I even turned to Mrs. M and I said, "Oh, we're gonna get a zombie fight. This is great." But you don't.
Hmm.
But they did a good job because you can call them zombies. I don't think they even use that word, but
Yeah.
they show when one of the good guys gets the photographer gets killed, the hero shoots him up, voice, and he comes back. And they're like, "Oh, that's what this does." But then he immediately goes and he rots, and you know they get these. I'll call them zombies. They have super strength. They can talk, but that's only because the bad guy is alive still when he uses it, and he heals his face, and that's cool. And I would like to point out the in the first half, the tension of what real World War II was like, where if you lived in a town, and they're in France, by the way, I'd like to point out that they could come knock on your door at any time, take whatever they want, and that tension I think was great. And then it switches. You find out there's the Nazi scientist, that trope, who's taking the people to perform experiments on them. And um, I'll go ahead and pause mine right there and knock it over to you. And you tell me your just overall thoughts of Overlord.
Well, I liked the plane crash scene at the beginning. I thought that was amazing. Um, I I thought there was okay. There was like a reanimator aspect to this one because
Oh
it's
yeah.
like the vial with like the stuff that brings you back. So it reminded me of that movie. Even whenever like you were talking about the zombie, like he's pulling out the other zombies. That's like straight up just from that movie. Even so it took me back to that movie. But it's Nazis and stuff, so that's different. But it also like there wasn't like a lot of zombies like you were talking about. Like it seemed like it was on the rise of there was about to be a bunch of zombies, but then they stopped it. Um, and then it's almost just like in a way it's kind of cool because it seems like it's some sort of military secret or something. Like there was a zombie outbreak for a little while. Nobody knows about. And then everything went back to normal. So like that was kind of neat in a way to me, like how like the ending was. Like they all seemed like happy and it was like everything was just like regular like war. But no, like the effects were really good. It was very high budget film. Kurt Russell's son was in this movie, and I haven't really
Oh,
seen
that's
him.
who Wyatt Russell is.
Yeah, that's why he looks
I
like him.
I kept saying, I know that chin, I know that face. God, I feel
Yeah,
foolish that I didn't like. I saw the name, and I'm like, who is that? And I'm like, oh, now that you say that,
yeah.
gee, that's
Can you
he
see
did a
it?
great job. Oh yeah.
Yeah, his parents are Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell.
Well, they're common law married, but yes,
Well, I said that's his parents, but
that's his parents. Yeah, yeah,
but
and better than Kate Hudson.
he looks awful like his dad though. That's what I
Oh,
recognized when I saw
he's 10 times better than Kate Hudson. I'm sorry. I
it.
just like to point that out.
What's wrong with Kate Hudson?
I said he's better than her as an actor.
Oh, what's wrong with her though? She's okay.
There's nothing too much wrong with her. I think she was
She's just
typecast too much. Like they put her in, let's put her in romantic comedies because she's pretty. And it's like, no, you're not gonna. Goldie Hawn didn't do that. Like Goldie Hawn did Private Benjamin. Like
well, I
she made it
mean,
interesting. But
Goldie
anyway,
Hawn's like more iconic than her though. She's
but she
just
could have been.
well, yeah, but the movies she was in were like
That's what I'm
lame.
saying. They put her in too many. Like here's just being in this romantic comedy, and like she should have been in some more serious roles, or you know. But anyway, back to our movie here. That's awesome. Like you taught me something I didn't know. I didn't put it together with the name and the face, but he did an outstanding job.
Yeah, no, he's very talented. He was sort of like the badass, in this movie. Um, he went through. He said that when he filmed this movie, he went through like a weight loss of 25 pounds. So if you see him, he's like thicker, and then he gets really skinny in some parts. So like that's kind of
Hmm.
interesting too. He said that yeah, if you watch it, you'll notice he loses like a lot of weight or something. So it's like within 6 hours or something. He's tiny.
They're all wearing so much gear though. Like you don't get to see their bodies too much, but
Maybe in his face. I don't
in
know.
his literally, you took the words out of my mouth and say in his face. Um, I like the main character Boyce,
Hmm.
who sort of has a love for the girl in the movie. They don't really, and they don't take the time to have them even kiss. They just like smile at each other, and I like that. It's like this is about war and evil, and zombies, or what could be, and that was great. But he did a great job of. Now, I want to point this out. It's even like IMDb gives you a quote from movies. They gave his quote in the movie where he says, "Look, 2 months ago I was cutting grass in my front lawn, and a letter from the army showed up, and now I'm here." And he sells that where he's like, I'm just an American kid who forced to be here, but that's where Wyatt Russell, like he's like, I've seen what's going on, dude. You got to snap out of it. And they give you the mouse story where he saved the mouse,
I'm
which is
sorry.
cute. What?
I accidentally had the wrong logo up. Like I had the
This,
Spooky
hey,
Saturday. I'm sorry. It's Theater Thursday.
no, nothing wrong. It almost fits. You had some half
Well,
skull looking
do I
thing.
change? What do I do? What are we, dude?
You can leave it on theater now.
Okay. Like, what are
But
we?
by the way, you were talking about like they put some money into it. I couldn't agree more, and I like the fact that Boyce walks around when he first goes into the bottom of the church, and talking about Reanimator, he pulls the sheet because he hears a voice, and it's just a head with a spine, and it's talking. I
Hmm.
think that's amazing. Like I said, these zombies most can talk, and they show you like there's a million things that experiments they're trying to do, and he cuts one guy out, and then he finds another American who he brings back, and like they really, to me, that's they. You said it. The money they put in, not just like it could have been a crappy war part and a good zombie part, but they really leveled it out. Good gunplay, even though people had unlimited ammo sometimes. But like when they had the guy in the motorcycle and they taped the grenade in his mouth and sent
Oh
him in,
yeah, that
that's
was kind
awesome.
of cool.
I
Um,
hate to say that, but
no, it was cool. Like
nah.
it was sort of just like a perfect setup. They're like, "What happened?" And then they were just gonna ask him, and then boom.
And you
Um,
got boys had to hide under dead bodies to get in,
that
and like
the jump scare got me whenever there's a when she grabbed that little boy and they were going in that little tunnel. That was like a crazy jump scare that like I screamed and stuff. Like whenever the zombie
and
grabbed her. Like
oh yeah, sometimes jump scares work even if you know they're coming because
I didn't know they
that's
were coming at all. Like I didn't know.
well, I you sometimes you got to go something's gonna happen, but like all that stuff with the underground of the church, like even if you don't see a zombie, because sometimes like he walks up to the vent and there's one of them in the other side of the wall making zombie noises, but like it's the tension. It was really good. Like I said, has to hide under dead bodies. He sneaks around, find his friend. You're like, oh, he's got to get out, and like there's bad people at every turn, and the tension was great. And I like to point out the badass of our main actress, Chloe is her name in the movie, where she goes in looking for her brother, and she's like, she comes across the two guards, and she's like, "Where's my brother?" And one of them doesn't talk, so she blows his head off and turns to the other one. He's like, "Right over here." I think that's amazing.
Oh yeah, oh, and then she had that blowtorch too.
That yeah, these zombies because this movie exists, so this is a zombie universe of its own. These zombies, nothing kills them. They were shot in every place you can imagine, burning them. They make it clear, like the bad guys have to burn some, and she does. Like that's the only way. They have super strength, super speed, and some can talk and some can growl, but most are horrifying, and they go out of the way to show like they have black veins. And
Oh yeah.
now I want to give my one big negative of this movie, and maybe it's just personal, but again, spoilers. But even if we spoil this and people want to go see it, it's entertaining. So when the bad guy, the bad colonel for the Nazis, has transformed himself, and he's talking to Wyatt Ford, whatever, he
hmm
picks up a needle of the stuff and he says, the French have been sitting under this and they never knew what they had. And that's the only explanation you get of what's going on. They never say what it is or how it turns people, but maybe you don't need that. Like,
hmm
I wanted a little more explanation, but, and then, yeah, they cave in the church. But if it's running underground, I guess anybody could find it. So you could have a sequel where, like, the Americans find it. But yeah, he gives one line of exposition of like, they've been sitting on it and we use it to do this. And that's the only reason you know, but maybe less is more, you know?
Oh yeah. Um, I have to clear my throat. Let me have a sippy.
No, I just wanted to know a little more. But I will say this, Mrs. M watched this with me and
hmm
she puts up with my horror addiction. But by the middle of the movie, we had to pause it for something. And she's like, hurry up. And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, I want to see what's going to happen. This movie
hmm
pulls you in. And that's the one part about maybe not having a lot of zombies is good. They could have had more action with them, but maybe they blew their budget on the sets and stuff. But
Yeah, no, I was interested. At first I was like, oh man, like another Nazi zombie movie or whatever. Like I kind of thought like it might be shitty. So I was like,
no,
I
it
don't
could
know,
have been.
but then it ended up being really good. So I was really pleasantly surprised, and I sat there for was like 2.5 hours or however long. And
Actually,
I have a
hold
very
on.
short attention span, and I was able to sit there through the whole movie.
It's about 5 minutes shy of 2 hours. It's like 155, 156.
Well, see, I sat there the whole time I watched it. And my attention span is a little short, but I was able to
Hey,
do it, and I wanted to see what happened, so I sat there the whole
sign
time.
of a great movie when you want to know what's going on because
Mhm.
like there was maybe a little too much tension because like you're like okay you have war going on and you don't want these people to die that way, then they got to fight monsters literally, so you don't want that to happen. Then you have like the Americans befriend the French girl and her little brother, you don't want them, and the little boy gets kidnapped by the dang monster. I'll call him a monster because he gets shot in the face and has
I
to.
think they should have killed that guy when they had a chance. That zombie, that Nazi guy.
Yeah,
They had
that's
him
the
tied up, and they should have killed him.
well. They did do one big cliche right there where the photographer unties him for some reason, and that's why he gets killed and brought back. But you're like, why would anybody untie the worst guy in the movie? And he did, but I guess that's a plot thing where we have to move the plot.
hmm
So he untied him for whatever reason.
But
But and
also
then you get
the part where he got shot in the face, I didn't like realize. I was like, wait, did he just get shot in the face? Like, and they're just driving off, and like, uh, you know, and then to see it, it was pretty disturbing. It's pretty freaky.
yeah, that's one of those like he wasn't he was just human, got shot right in the face,
Yeah.
and I guess they needed that to show like because the evil doctor says we've never tested this on a living thing. He does and becomes super zombie, and it fixes his face enough. But he could have got shot somewhere else, yeah,
Well, no,
and
I
got
mean, it's
fixed
like I was like, wait, he just got shot in the face, and then it was like,
right in the
did that
cheek.
really happen? Yeah. But then he's like bleeding or whatever, and he's like, and then he just injects himself with like several of those. So it seems like the more you do, like the like more strong you get from it.
Now, it wasn't me, or wasn't there different color vials? Like the main one was red, but wasn't there like an orange and something else, or am I wrong?
I feel like they were all kind of like a reddish orange scarlet color or something like that. I don't know
Okay.
what like a weird kind of like off orange red color, maybe juice. I don't know.
Okay.
what I
I
remember.
just
But
yeah, he ends up smashing everything anyway. So
well, it's making me think of Reanimator, but that stuff was like that green, like glowing
green,
stuff.
but
Yeah, like
no,
glowing.
you hit the nail on the head. This is a version of Reanimator. Like they were reanimating corpses
Hmm.
to make super zombies out of Nazis. Like it's a combination of tropes, but they literally, to me, did a great job of evening out like the war part compared with the science of it all and the stakes. So just to give the rest of the overview, um, it's D-Day, and we're following a group of paratroopers who their job is to knock out a communications tower to help with the beaches of Normandy being stormed.
Hmm.
And they run into this small town. Um, they run into a French civilian female who helps them out. Then, when they find the church, it just so happens under the church is where the science experiments have been going on. So they have to deal with that. Now, this is the biggest spoilers. Our main protagonist voice ends up taking down the tower. And like you said, they do wrap it up in a pretty interesting way when he's being debriefed and his superior says, "Is there any reason we should go be digging up this place to see what's going on?" He's like, "Nope, all I saw was the communication." And because right there, like you were saying, I thought, oh, the Americans are going to dig it up, and maybe that's the sequel. But I looked it up, and so far, there's no talks of a sequel to me, which is sad. But sometimes a one and done is the way to go.
Oh, I don't know if they. Why would they do a sequel?
No, I'm saying I haven't heard of anything about it, but they could technically.
They could, but maybe they. I don't
No,
know.
they shouldn't.
Yeah, I think they should just leave it. It's kind of good on its own. It does have a Wolfenstein kind of vibe to it, as
I
well.
said that to Mrs. M. I said, we got Wolfenstein here, but there's a million games and movies about even Nazi zombies. Have you ever heard of Dead Snow?
Yeah, I didn't like that one.
It's all subtitled, but those Nazis come alive and are looking for like gold, Nazi gold. See, that's a dumb thing where you're just like, okay, I want to see the zombie fight. And here, there's stakes on every side. Like this team has to do their mission, but they have to face not just Nazis or not just zombies, both, and they're super powerful. And they're also trying to save this poor kid, and they do a good job with that, by the way, because they when Chloe and Ford and Boyce are all in the bottom of the church, they split up. One goes to do the demolition. She goes to find her brother, and then Boyce goes and helps her, and it leads to then the fight between the bad Colonel Ford and Boyce. And like I said, he hangs him on a hook, and he saves his life by shooting himself. And I said, "Oh, a zombie fight! Here we go, super zombies." But no, he sacrifices himself, takes out the bad guy with C4, and Boyce ends up setting off the detonators. And then they say, "Oh, well, now he and one other guy, the girl, and the brother make it." Then he gets sent to Charlie Company, and so the guy who befriends the little kid even says, "Man, you think we'd be able to go home after all that?" And he's like, "Nope, not till we go put a shot on Hitler." And I think that's cool because that happened in real life where
Mhm.
like the war wasn't over. It was so big and bad, like people kept going. So they did a good job of balancing like the war aspect to where they tried to keep like I was paying attention to like the guns they used, the
Mhm.
outfits they wore, and they did a good job of keeping all that straight as best they could because they didn't have to. These people could have
Mhm.
been wearing anything, and they got the Nazi stuff right now. You know the story of why the Nazis wore such good looking uniforms, right?
No.
Two reasons. One, you heard of the company Hugo Boss?
Mm-mm.
You never heard of Hugo Boss?
Mm-mm.
Very popular in the 90s and early 2000s, but they along with the lady who owns Versace at the
Mhm.
time, help them. They kind of had to, obviously, because it was them with their life. But that's
Yeah.
why they had such good looking uniforms. But they did a good job of doing that, and like not just like the main people, but almost every soldier had good looking uniforms and good looking equipment, and not just the same gun. There was different guns. I'm sorry, like I said, I like war history and World
Uh
War
huh.
II in particular. I have very big ties to that war, but we can do that another time. But they did a good job, and of course, when you get the zombies, most were shirtless or whatnot. And those
Hmm.
five he pulled out were only there for a second. But and the one Chloe fights where she shoots in the head to show like, nope, you can shoot them anywhere you want. They're gonna come back. So you had to blow them up or burn them, actually, as we say.
Yeah, burn them. Well, I mean, it had a good story. Like Wolfenstein had a good story too. Because
Yeah.
like we were talking about, there's like a lot of shitty zombie Nazi movies and stuff
Oh,
that are just terrible.
there. Me and Max like to always point out that we were watching zombie movies in the late '70s, early '80s when zombies were a joke. They weren't cool. The Night of the Living Dead, the black and white had come out, and the Mall, Dawn of the Dead, but they weren't big and famous. And then now, like they're a common thing. Walking Dead made them a staple, but we remember when they were a joke, and there's so many zombie movies, especially after like the year 2000, where
Hmm.
people didn't care about what the story was. It was just, how can we see somebody being eaten better? And this one, like the zombies kill a couple people, but they don't go too much detail. Like it's, you just don't want to run into them. And I like that. Or they
Yeah.
had the one scene where Chloe makes the guy open the door looking for her brother, and there's like a corpse on the ground, and they cut to her viewpoint, and the Nazi soldier gets pulled in, dragged in, like
Hmm.
to be eaten. I guess that was cool. So yeah, I I had to say I love this movie. This was great. It was a nice change from the zombie schlock. So I'm going to go right now and give my score. And I rarely have ever given tens to movies. This is a 9.5. If they could have
Oh.
cleaned up some of the stuff, yeah. I've only given a 10 to maybe two movies. But this was dang good. Maybe because I've been waiting for a nice. It mixed war with horror zombie. That's great. Not everybody's bag, but the suspense was good enough to where if you love a suspense, thriller, horror, you should be able to get everything out of it. So I'm going to knock that ball back into your court. You tell me which you would give this.
Mm, why are you laughing? Um, don't laugh at me.
I'm not laughing, I'm smiling, I'm chuckling.
I
Here, I'm going to
know.
light my
You're
phone.
just laughing at me because I'm trying
I'm
to
not
think of my.
laughing at I'm
You're
not
laugh.
laughing, people.
You're laughing at me.
I'm not. Now you're trying to make me laugh.
um, I'm gonna give it an 8.5 just because I thought it was really good. I think that's a high rating too. I think it was fantastic. I just really did want more zombie action, you know. I think that was the only downfall. I just kind of wanted to see the zombies come out of those little things, and I wanted to see
You're
them.
right.
That was just like the one thing. I just wanted to see like big zombie, crazy like fight, you know.
Wouldn't that have been great? Both superpowered zombies fighting,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
and
Like,
they
I feel like they could have made that a little bit more juicy, you know, that scene.
well, you always have to factor in like we don't know what the budget was, or you
Yeah.
know,
No, I mean they spent a lot of money on that movie. That was a very high budget film. Everything
yeah,
looked amazing. And the story was good. It wasn't shitty. It wasn't like boring. It wasn't cliche or anything. It was different than anything that's out there as far as a zombie army movie. You know,
right.
it's different.
Yeah, because I, I think we both agree it might have been worse if there was 1,000 Nazi zombies running around.
I
Like,
didn't want 1,000. I just wanted a little bit more.
right?
There
No,
was
you're
only a
right.
couple. I just wanted like maybe four more zombies.
I was literally thinking they if they would have let the five he pulled out fight till the end of the movie, that would have made it more interesting.
Yeah, that's. I just kind of want to see those. I didn't want like a million of them or nothing.
But that's the tension. Like, if these people succeeded, there would have been an unstoppable Nazi army. So
Oh yeah, definitely. But does all the thing I have a question for is, do you have to be injected by the stuff, or do you just get?
the way they set it up is like all the experiments is well, basically when our bad guy, the main bad guy, gets shot and he goes to find the drug, the
Mhm,
Nazi scientist says, "We've never tried it on a living person." And you see throughout the movie, their experiments have pretty much failed. Like, they're not doing very good with any of them. Some look completely mutated and worthless, or they're too violent. So it seems the part of him being alive at the time and taking it is what made it work. But
mhm,
the Americans take everything down, so nobody knows that's the key. So that's, to me, the way they left it. Like, they kept trying, but they didn't know they were able to reanimate the dead, but they didn't want to try it on the living yet. And
mhm,
even the photographer, which when they had the photographer die, so like we said, he let the main bad guy down after he's captured, and he shoots him. He dies, and Boyce takes the vial he took, injects him. So they show you like he comes back to life. He says, "Man, I feel great. I'm really thirsty." And then, "What's going on with me?" And he starts dying ish, like becoming a zombie. They shoot him. It doesn't work, and they have to pretty much beat him to death. So that's a good thing. Like, most movies don't take the time to show you, like, it's not just you can't kill him. This is why you can't kill him, or
mhm.
you can't shoot him. You can't even shoot him in the head, which brings back Return of the Living Dead universe where nothing killed them either, but different universe. But I will say, Return of the Living Dead, the gas in that movie was a military gas, so it's kind of connected, kind of cool in a way. But this is just stuck in 1944.
Mhm.
So
Um. Well, I don't think there would be that many zombies if they all have to just like have that like that juice or whatever. It seemed like there's that much juice to go around. I feel like if there was a zombie outbreak from that, it would probably just be more like dead people, like because they would just be killing everybody.
that, and I think, well, at least in my mind, like, the fact that it was going on during war and there was a lot of dead people, if they did succeed, yeah, but how do you control them? You're right. Like, that's always the thing. Like, even like aliens using a xenomorph as a weapon, how do you get them back, or how do you control them or stop them from killing you? But I guess they addressed that with the main bad guy being still alive and he can talk and think, and he smiles. You get that in the trailer, the big zombie smile. But so that's a good, like, that's the thought put into it, where they even it out enough where, yeah, they didn't figure it out, but oh, because of this situation, they figure it out, and oh no, but we win the day.
Mhm.
So, and like I said in the beginning, this movie, I like the fact that this could have happened in real life and nobody would know. The war still happened the way it happened. They didn't change history. They didn't change time. They didn't rewrite anything. It was,
Mhm.
this situation could have happened and nobody would have known about it. Like, a little history here. The famous, infamous Dr. Mengele, who was a Nazi scientist, he had a fascination with making twins. And
Mhm.
there's an island he they made. They didn't make the. They had an island where they found the whole population of the island was twins. He literally succeeded in breeding twins, but the war ended before he could do anything with it. So that's the science fiction that's just not too far off. No zombies were ever brought back, but could they have gotten close? That's the
Well,
part that's interesting.
that's like the whole zombie thing with the Nazis kind of like it can make a sense in a way that the Nazis did really messed up things to people. They did
Yep.
really messed up experiments. I mean, they would make like lampshades out of people's skin, and they'd make book
Well,
covers out of people's skin. They would inject people's eyes with weird stuff to change the color of them. I mean, they did a lot of
yeah,
strange
that
things
was that
to
was
people.
Mingala too, by the way, the eye thing.
Oh, really? Mm.
Because when they found the island of these twins, many had very odd and similar eye colors, and the
But it was making
woman
them
it
go
was
blind and stuff.
well, yeah, it didn't work too great in the end, but oh man, I forgot her name. It's like Ingrid something. Is she was married to one of the head of the concentration camps, and she's the one who made skin furniture. Like it was done more places, but she had a fascination with it, and luckily was charged with war crimes later. But
Mm.
horrible things. But that's the thing. They took a real horrible situation and made it more interesting instead of just worse. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
zombies are worse, but no, like it's science gone wrong, and pepped it up with a little comedy here and there. So I give them much credit for that.
Mhm.
So there you go, people. Oh, in the end, I gave it a 9.5, and Hannah gave it an 8.5. So another one of our reviews with really high marks. We're picking them good so far, but they're not all going to be good.
Yeah. Well, next week we're doing Tiger King, so you guys better come for that. We
And
go.
not just we're doing Tiger King because everybody's doing that. We're doing it because one of us, we won't say who, has some insight on the area where the main guy, what is it, Tom Exotic, right?
It's
Oh,
Joe Exotic.
Joe Exotic, sorry. So one of us has some special info on that. We're going to give more than just your regular
I don't really
take
got
on it.
special info, but he's a local celebrity here, and
That's more than,
I've known of the guy for years. He's been a joke to our town
but
forever.
that's more than most people can say. Like you're you saw some of it firsthand, maybe on like the local news or such. So
Yeah.
let's not spoil any more.
Okay.
But that's just one of many that we have on the docket, and we're not going to tell everybody. But we've been talking
Yeah.
behind the scenes, trying to pick. Now, a lot of this stuff is newer. I mean, like the Sacrament was 2013 or 14, but and one of the new ones for us is going to be 2014. But I have in my back pocket a list. We're going to go further back in time. And well, Phantom was 74, so that's
Mhm.
the furthest we've gone back. But everybody definitely keep coming back for more as we bring entertainment. As I say, the Do Brothers like to bring entertainment throughout space and time. And that's what we're going to do too. So look at this movie, a 1944 war movie with zombies.
Mhm. It's a
Who could
must
ask for more?
see, y'all. It's a must. So I would definitely
Especially
recommend it.
especially now that people are trying to just watch anything they can find. This I knew about. I saw the trailer in 2018, but I've been busy, or my youngin's been around, so I don't want to put on that kind of movie. But I am so glad I found it, and I picked it on a whim. Like I've been meaning to see this. This would be good for us. I'm so glad we did. I'm glad you liked it too,
Mhm.
and like me, you, and Mrs. M, none of us were bored. Like it keeps you wanting to see what's going to happen, no matter what.
No, it's a good one, guys. The forest was a drag for me to sit through. I did it for y'all, but this one I was pleasantly it was a pleasant surprise.
You're right. The Forest was probably our one dud, but neither one of us saw it. So
Yeah, but we
and
sat there, we watched it for y'all, but we'll tell you it's not that great. But if
and that's
watch it if
funny
you
because
want.
the main actress was like in Game of Thrones and stuff. So you're like, oh, why would they give her
I guess
a
sometimes not all your movies are gonna be the winners.
Well, a lot of people who I've seen talk about the forest say what we said. Like, you had a good story there, but you just didn't execute it properly. They threw
Yeah.
too much, and they didn't use the setting of an actual forest in real life called Suicide Forest. But
Well, there's a lot of scenes that are boring too, guys, in that one. So I don't know. We didn't,
yeah, too much
but
backstory can kill a movie. This doesn't do that. This Overlord
yeah.
is straightforward. Like, we don't need to know everybody's backstory, or I don't even remember the name of the town they were in. Like, they didn't do all that. Like, they might have said it. I didn't get to read all the subtitles as it was going off, but it was in France because they
Mhm.
speak French to each other. But that girl Chloe in the movie, and I don't want to say Matilda because I just want to point out Chloe's name is spelled Hathilde. Now, being French Cajun, her last name is like Olivier because it's Ollivier. But I don't know if that's Matilda or Matilde, or I mean, I don't want to butcher these people's names, but
Mhm.
you know she was excellent. Like, and there was only one female in the movie. It was just
Oh,
her.
that's right. That's right.
So she had
Yeah.
to hold her own against a movie of 1,000 dudes. So you
Mhm.
know, she gave a good performance, and I'm gonna bring it up. She was almost sexually assaulted until our hero Boyce steps in and show how good he is. They gave that mouse story like he saved the mouse, but this he's like they they were trying to hide in the attic, and Wyatt Russell's character's like, "Don't go down there, no matter what happens." And she's almost raped, and he's like, "Nope." And then he shows up with the gun behind his head, and that's how
Mhm.
they capture him. But that's a good portrayal of like, yeah, these people need to win a war, but he's not going to let this one thing happen. And I like that. Like, you need that kind of levity in the movie. So
Mhm.
just another point, and yeah, the first 30 minutes, like you're thinking this is Saving Private Ryan. Like, you can
Mhm.
watch just the war part. So maybe they did blow a lot of budget on like, making that happen, but hey, it was worth it to set the whole thing up.
No, it was good, guys. At first I did kind of forget that it was a zombie movie.
You do, yeah.
I was like, wait, where's the zombies?
Like,
But
I don't think it's until like 45 minutes in where you hear they're doing science experiments in the church. And
mhm.
then knowing it's a zombie movie, you put two and two together, you're like, oh, okay. But yeah, if it wasn't a zombie movie, I'd watch it just as a war movie. But
No, it's still a
no,
good movie if it's zombie or not. But it's kind of fun because you do get the zombies too. So if you're into like scary stuff, spooky.
and I'll say the hero, but only really two people make it. One is the hero, and he's almost killed 1,000 times in this movie. Everybody gets beat up. There's a lot of good fight scenes,
Mhm.
and a lot of people die in like heroic ways, some in violent ways. Like, not everybody, like I said, maybe one or two people are actually killed by the zombies. The rest, it's almost war is killing them, and this is going on in the background. So that's the only reason I would say I'd love to see maybe a sequel where the bad guys dig up some of this stuff, use it again, and maybe at the end of the war or right after, another little outbreak in another town. It doesn't spread to the world, but no, I don't think there's going to be any sequels. But this was worth it.
No, it was a fun movie, y'all. So I definitely recommend it. I think it's very good.
So you have our thumbs up.
Yeah.
There you go. Another Theater Thursday, guys. This was Overlord from 2018. Right now, it's on Hulu. That's where I saw it.
Yeah.
So
Well, I saw it on I saw it on Hulu too. I was gonna say something stupid, but no, I saw it on Hulu as well.
there's plenty of platforms I know you've heard of, like one called Pluto, and
Oh, really?
uh, you can rent stuff off of YouTube now. So I
I
don't
have
know.
Amazon Prime and
We do
N-
too, but I didn't see it there. But
Netflix and Hulu. Those are the ones I got, and I got the YouTubies. But
Well, but we know for next week we're going over the hugely popular. It's on Netflix. Uh,
She
Wait a
like
minute.
not so too after that. Tiger
What's the
King.
name? Tiger King,
Joe Exotic.
singular.
The
Joe,
Tiger.
that's right.
Yeah, it's number one trending, y'all. And it's from and it's a documentary about Joe Exotic. The Tiger King guy here from Oklahoma. So, you know, I think it's kind of interesting, I guess. Because happens
So
to
was
be.
his is his was his Tiger Park like in your state? Like what's in the show is where in
Yeah.
Oklahoma?
The whole show's he's from Oklahoma. The whole show is in Oklahoma. The whole documentary was filmed here in Oklahoma. The zoo is here in Oklahoma. He makes well, kind of makes Okies look kind of bad, but
Did they disband his little park?
I don't know what happened. I've only seen the first two episodes. I'm not even sure what happened to
Oh.
all the animals yet. But I'm gonna
Well,
be watching all the episodes and
well, there
yeah.
you go, people. That's going to give you even better review because we're not reviewing it. We saw it, waited a while. We're seeing it after the hype a little bit, but we'll be able to give you firsthand feelings about it, not secondhand. And that's important
Yeah.
sometimes.
Well, I mean, me and my brother have been making fun of this guy for years too, so it's kind of like, why is he blowing up now, dude? We've been making fun of him for like 10 years now. Like,
Well, I think from what I think I remember, it took a while for them to get all the footage.
yeah, and it's pretty messed up, guys. There's also I don't want to get into it too much, but he's a lot worse in real life than what you see in this documentary. He's a monster, but we're gonna get into that next week.
This is our sneak preview.
Yeah, just giving you
So,
guys a little bit of taste, so you'll want to come back.
but you always should come back to see us. We have plenty of
Yeah.
shows all the time, movie reviews, spooky Saturdays where you never know what we're going to talk about.
Mhm.
Um, this lovely lady here does some makeup reviews, which I find great. Even with, even if you didn't do Drew Barrymore, I would still say you do great reviews. I
No.
didn't know about that. You recently did Alien. I didn't know about that, and that was interesting.
Oh, the alien perfume?
That was it could look cool and looked like it smelled cool, but it's good to find out.
Yeah, it's sexy, guys. It smells really sexy. So if you
But
try
how
to
much?
tell like what? How
Is
much
it
is it?
expensive?
It's $130 a bottle.
That's not bad.
Um, but it's really bougie. Don't be using it all the time. Use it on special occasion. But you can get Drew Barrymore. She has a jasmine spray that it's not exactly like Alien, but it has that jasmine woodsy aspect to it, like Alien. So you could use that. That one's a lot cheaper. Use that one on the daily, and then save your Alien for like a date night or something.
Well, that's because Miss Barrymore is down to earth and one of the greatest people to ever live, and she can call us anytime she wants. She can we'll freely do her review her stuff, and me and her can have coffee. You can come too. I'm just
No, she has high quality products for a great price, guys. I've used some of her makeup. I haven't used a lot of it. Everything's been amazing. She has the best setting spray I've ever used. It
and
just is
does
like misty.
she does whatever you call interior design. Like she designs kids' rooms,
Oh wow,
whatever you
that's
call that,
something.
with the drapery and everything. I'm trying to think.
Well, if she does bedding and stuff, I will buy the
Right.
bedding because I'm down for that.
I know it's what Flower is her company.
Flower Beauty
Flower Beauty.
Cosmetics. Yeah. Um, I have a couple of her perfumes. I'll do a review. I'll tell you guys what they smell like. They're really good and the price is really cheap. Um, but yeah, they smell very high quality and they come in very beautiful bottles. For the price point, it's pretty insane. It looks like a $50 bottle of perfume for $15. So that's
Um,
pretty awesome.
speaking speaking of her, because she made me think of this. How about one show? I don't care which one of our shows we do it on. We talk and give out our top five Hollywood husband and wives.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to call it the cancer list like people used to,
The what?
But you
I
never heard
can't
that?
tell us.
Yeah,
No.
where if you're married, you have a list of 1 through 5 or 10, but if you get cancer, your significant other will give you a pass to go spend the night with that person because you're dying. I don't want to
Oh.
call it that. I say
Okay.
Hollywood. I say Hollywood are famous, but they could be. I think that'd be a little cute show if we did that.
Okay. We can do that. How many do I have to come up with? I have to come up with 5 husbands.
5.
Okay.
You don't have. It doesn't have to be 5. I
I'm
mean,
just trying to think. Do I like 5 people in Hollywood? I don't know.
well,
I don't know.
that gives you a reason when you're watching shows and TV and commercials. Just I remember that guy or girl, whatever, and just throw it.
Oh, when I
I've
was
had my list forever, so.
well, somebody I don't like him anymore, but I used to like love Jeff Goldblum when I was a little kid
Mm-hmm.
because like weird. Like I saw him in The Fly, which is like the grossest movie, but for some reason
Cronenberg.
I thought he's like really hot in that movie.
He's a good-looking guy. There's nothing wrong with that. And the list can rotate. My top 5 has never changed yet, but
Yeah, but
6 through
he
10 is there.
wasn't so good looking at the end of that movie. Like he didn't look so hot when he turned to the
Well,
fly thing.
well,
But I didn't
you
think he was
can.
cute then. I thought he, but I don't know. I already told you. I used to crush on Frankenstein and the Beast from Beauty and the Beast, so I kind of like have a very different type than most people. You know,
Well, don't give the list any list out. I've showed
that's
you
my
like.
old list, dude. That's the old one.
Oh,
That's
I
my
showed you. I
my
showed you
kid
like
list.
my 1 through 4. I don't. I might have mentioned 5, but you can tell they're all like different looking in different ways, and
Mhm.
you know. So that's the fun part. So we'll say that because
Okay.
now's the time to give everybody some entertainment, some real entertainment, no drama, no crap, and
No.
then if anybody watching you want if there's a movie or show that you want us to review, talk about, put it in there. And a little teaser. We've been talking about for
Okay.
our
I'll be right
terror.
back. I'll be right back. Is that
Oh,
okay? Can you take over?
no, I'll tell them. I'll
Okay.
tell them about something. So go ahead. For anybody watching, if you like what we're doing, one of our days is Terror Tuesday, where we're gonna pick just anything horror, suspense, or thriller. And one of the first ones we're looking at, there is a Robert Englund show called True Terror, and he picks topics from most seem to be in the past. Like uh, one of them is about like from the late 1800s, so cowboy times, if you will, and it's directed and I say stars Robert Englund. He gives the narration, but you see him, and that came out on Hulu, and we are thinking that's gonna be our first Terror Tuesday, but doesn't mean it's like all horror movies and all that, like suspense, thriller, urban legends, like kind of what we do because I have one foot in the horror community, one in the cryptozoology, one in the atheist community, and that won't come up. But we're trying to bring some real entertainment. People, give us your thoughts, give us your ideas. We love to cross-examine everything, cross-examine with ours, put everything to the test, and because everybody loves a little suspense and horror in their lives. Horror movies are a big deal, and pretty soon, actually this week, we're going to be putting out a new horror news update, if you will. Stuff going on. So always stay tuned for more. There you go.
What I miss?
I presented our first idea for Terror Tuesday, the Robert Englund show, and that we're going to try and put out a new horror news update this week because I got some new stuff.
Okay.
And that is like a little preview on that, like using horror movies to show what's going on with the world at large. Like Candyman was supposed to come out in June with A Quiet Place 2, and they've been pushed back. So that's coincides with what's going on in the world. So the horror news updates, not just horror. And I told the audience, we may give titles like Terror Tuesday and Spooky Saturday, but it could be suspense, thriller. It doesn't all, it's not all like, bloody horror stuff.
It's a
But
variety show.
we're trying to bring a big variety. I think we're doing a good job so far.
Hmm. Oh, this brush is like awesome, y'all. This is a wet brush. That's all it says. Wet brush. You can put it up in your shower. It has like a little hook, and it's got like this little. It can bend and stuff. Got tiny little bristles, so it doesn't hurt, and it just brushes your hair like really quick. 'Cause I have very tangly hair. So it's a good brush, y'all, and it's only like $8 at Walmart.
Um, you're not the only one. Mine goes pretty far down, gets tangling through.
Mhm. Get a wet
Uh,
brush.
I'm gonna look into that since you brought it up. That's nifty.
Yeah, get one. They look like this. They're the only brushes that look like this. Unique, but I love.
Especially nowadays where everybody's taking more showers and trying to be cleaner. And
Yeah, it doesn't pull out your hair and stuff, and it doesn't hurt. You could brush your hair when it's with it. Really cool. Because usually, if you try to do it when it's wet, it's just like ow. So yeah, get the wet brush at your local Walmart, and they're not sponsored.
but hey, any sponsor can hit us up for any reason. By the way, I did have a sponsor hit up my channel, and it was for an alarm system for your house. And I had to go, well, I live in an apartment, so I can't even try it out for you. So I
Mm,
thought that was funny. I'm like, oh,
down to
but
try it. I didn't need an alarm, y'all. My brother works
uh,
in alarm system, but yeah, I'd be down to try it if you want to give it to me for free, though.
but hey, it was a sponsor, so you never know.
Yeah. Well,
Everybody now seems to be doing those earphones, yeah,
uh,
earpieces.
earplugs.
Yeah, it's they're by themselves. It's like some I forgot the name, but
I don't like little plugs in my. I think I told you I don't like that.
yeah. But that seems to be the big one. Or like mobile video games seem to be a big sponsor.
I don't do like that. I wear earplugs when I sleep every night because of I have like trauma or whatever because a bug went in my ear when I was asleep once. So I have like some kind of PTSD from it. But I don't wear the earbud thingies. I wear those little squishy things in my ears when I sleep. You know, like the
If
ones.
I slept, sure.
Oh, if you slept.
I put my phone next to my head and listen to usually people reviewing old comics I missed in the past, and that I at least can stop and help me concentrate on something else. But no, I still only sleep about an hour a night, maybe.
Oh, I do sleep to shows and stuff though. I have to sleep to like voice
Man,
or something, which is maybe abnormal, but that's how I sleep.
no, noise is very common where some people listen to like the sound of rain, some people listen to music, some people listen to like that's where ASMR really came from, where people would like, I need a fan on to hear the noise to go to sleep, and it quiet because you can quiet your mind and stuff like that. Hey, you could put Spooky Saturdays on and go to sleep and listen to us jackasses talk for a while.
What? Speak for yourself, dude.
I am speaking for myself, by the way.
I mean, freaking jackass.
She has a pretty voice. I'm the ridiculous one, but you could listen to us.
Oh, I wouldn't call my voice pretty. It's annoying. Pretty annoying. Um,
Nobody likes their own voice.
I don't, and I've got picked on. It's nasty. I don't like it. It's gross. Um,
No,
but I listen to the fan, or I watch the Hulu. You know, started watching the show. It was called I think it's called Better Things. It's got I don't know what the lady's name is. She does Bobby Hill's voice, and it's like her show, and it's pretty good.
oh, she was in Greece too.
Oh, she was. I don't like
She,
Rich, so I told you.
oh, okay. Well, that's what she was. That was one of her movies from the past. Paula, maybe
Pamela.
Pamela, Lively. Is that right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah, no. I mean,
You
I like
can't. T-
her. It's funny. She's kind of goofy. I like her.
I'll
And
have
she,
to check that out. Oh, she's funny. Yeah.
yeah, she. Well, I used to like that. What's that guy that used to be her like Lucy K. So all that crazy stuff happened. I used to like him.
I know she was like on Louis or
Yeah, but
something.
she was on his other show too. He had a show.
Oh,
Uh, what was it on? It might have been on Hulu, but he had a show just like a few years ago that was pretty good and had Jerry Seinfeld on it. She was on there. I thought it was a really good show, but he had to ruin it by being a weirdo. So, you know,
nah. Yeah. Oh, you're talking about Louis C.K.?
yeah,
Yeah. Well,
he was funny, but I mean, he was funny, but I didn't like when he would make fun of God and stuff. I didn't think that was cool. I also
uh,
didn't like when he was really foul and stuff. Sometimes he just so perfect or just really like working out. Like sometimes he just like be too nasty, but he could be very
yeah, I think because TV, he had to be a little toned down. That made it where you got his best stuff. You didn't need the lewd stuff.
well. I don't know. He pushed it too far sometimes with his stand up. I'm like, dude, I don't hear about this stuff, man.
Right.
But
Well,
that's comedians for you. You know.
true. Um, just on the last positive note, I told the audience, we have the Terror Tuesday, we got some horror movie updates, and of course, Spooky Saturday, and some other stuff in between. So I'll leave it at that, where always come back for more. You never know what you're going to get.
I'm doing the makeup video on Monday, guys, and
Makeup Monday.
makeup Monday, and I'm gonna be doing the Ipsy box of this month. I have the other one; it hasn't came yet, but I got the big one coming. Or the big one already came today, so I'll show you guys what they gave me. Some of the stuff was interesting. I already told you about that mask today, so I'm gonna be doing a
Yeah.
review on that, and I didn't love it. It was disgusting, but I'll tell you guys about that on Monday.
All right.
Did we plug everything?
Well, I'll do a shameless plug. Over on my channel, you just type in Colonel Chubbs as you see. This week, we already had one, but Wednesday, the movie War Games, we're doing the trailer review, and then there's a big one Friday. We're doing the Lost Boys,
Mm,
and that's longer than our usual ones because that's very close to our hearts. So,
that's a good one.
but there you go. That's about it. Thank you for anybody who came or is going to come later on. This is Theater Thursday, where we bring you movie reviews of some of the new and old and everything in between.
Oh, and a link to his channel will be in the description, guys. I always put it in. So yeah, you can just
Thank
find his
you.
channel that way. You're welcome. So, um, but yeah, so that's all I gotta
Okay.
say.
Well, that's good night for me. Good
All
night,
right,
everybody.
night night. Did it? What?